So some of the questions I would also want you to think about is, what's one way you yourself can be more compassionate with yourself, with the others in your space? That's a broad question. It can be really small, really specific. How do you want to feel? Think about, focus on what you want, not what you don't want. We can get really into the negativity stream and the spiral of anxiety around frustrations of this time. But we really want to put our focus on what we do want, and because where we focus grows. Where our energy goes, it just grows. So we want to cultivate a habit of really building up what you want to create. So how do you want to feel? And how do you want to look back on this time after we've gotten through it? Let's say you're isolating for 14 days or 3 weeks, or you've got sick family members. How do you want to feel after you've managed this time about how you handled it? Like, who do you want to be during this time? Responsibility always comes back to self-agency, self-sovereignty around, we may find other people's habits, or we may be in a crossroads as a couple in terms of a lot of conflict. But it's, how do we want to show up, and how do we want to handle it, and who's the person we want to be? We always get focused and fixated on the other and what they should change and what they could fix. We really, really need to take extra care on self-responsibility. That does begin with self-care. And self-care can be sort of flattened into too ubiquitous a term, too simple. You shower, you eat well, and you sleep well, but it's a lot more than that. What's your emotional hygiene? What's your your spiritual self-care, and what does that mean to you? And is that a trigger word, or is that your connection to nature? Do you have a relationship? Do you think about that? In these times where we're in such artificial situations, we also have to remember to just stare out the window, to open the windows for fresh air, to sort of create more movement and get more movement. And there's other ways we can do that, going to the gym or going for a long walk when we're socially isolating. So jumping jacks every day, push-up, squats, dance breaks for sure, having some fun, putting your favorite music on, whether it's alone or with your partner, whatever it is you need to create movement and exercise every day. Like, we can't forget these basics, because those are our lifeline: sanity and stress release for sure. And what's one thing you're really proud of yourself through this time? How have you risen to the challenge? Really consider, even spending a bit of time journaling about that. And what's one thing you've discovered about your partner or your relationship through this time? And, give some time to reflect on that if it doesn't come to you right away. It's a chance again to see things that we take for granted, to really see things with new eyes. And what are the gifts of this time, as challenging as it is, for your relationship and your own health? Maybe that's quiet. Maybe that is more space. Maybe that's less stress, less demand. Obviously, travel plans have been canceled. I haven't even been to the grocery store. It's a very strange, surreal time. Our natural, ordinary rhythms and routines are completely disrupted. How are you keeping yourself stimulated? So that's also why movement is super important, to outlet stress and tension, and to not start getting fixated on the other person or things that are troubling you. And also creative opportunities, hobbies. This is a great time for you to reignite any interest in hobbies, or things that you have not had the time or energy to get to, like income tax. But okay, so it's also really important around setting safe boundaries and communication. So it's not just time alone, but it's also just recognizing this is a big mental stress that we're all adapting to, and having no exit, no exit that you can actually leave and take space or go do. That's a real internal mental stress, just knowing that. So, and introverts and extroverts, this is going to be impacting them in very different ways as well. Extroverts that are particularly active and social, this is, you're going to need to look to yourself about getting super creative around how you get your needs met, because you cannot expect your partner to fill all of that. And so maybe it's more Skype dates, maybe it's more, trampolining with those little things. Maybe it's just, more dance breaks, more dance parties, happy hour with your friends on Skype. It's okay. Figure out ways to stay connected, and also not just make it one relationship that's trying to fill all your needs. I mean, that's generally a challenge for couples anyway that can fall into that sort of expectation. But right now, with self-isolating and social distancing, we're looking to each other for comfort, and that's beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that. But we can't expect our full complex set of needs to be met in this time too. And, it's also important in terms of setting safe boundaries and the self-care piece and connection, is that we also don't fall into habits around laziness, around getting depressed, like, for example, staying in your pajamas for 10 days, not showering, just getting a little slovenly. It's really important that you show up for yourself. You think higher of yourself and your partner to actually, make some effort to feel like, you're putting some energy into this, and that life is still happening. And this is now coming back to that present where we don't know what's going to happen, but we know right now that if we're adjusting to this new normal, like, get rest. It's okay. Have fun. It's also okay to give yourself permission to relax and be comfortable, of course, but it's just not falling prey to a chronic habit of sort of letting everything slide. That includes keeping your place, especially with shared space, no one getting back out. The boundaries are really challenged. Is keeping your place tidy, keeping your place clean, doing your part, sharing responsibility, and really negotiating around that, and not, negotiate in the morning. Like if you're working from home, what are your set of rules around that in terms of when you want to be, you need to be not interrupted, when, you can even do the imaginary, like when we were kids, or make an office, put some duct tape down. This is my office. This is your office. We're both on the couch because we only have 300 square feet. That's it. So, it's like, make a ritual to start your work day, to end your work day, and get each other tea, get each other water. Don't mindful about who needs quieter, who needs more stimulation. If one person needs noise, that's what noise canceling headphones are. Amazon's still working, deliveries still work, so get your upgrades around, respecting your roommates, respecting your family, respecting your partner around what you need to maintain your working life within this self-isolating business. Earplugs are your friend. Okay. Touch is also a thing. Obviously, within couples, that's a huge component. Touch, intimacy, sexuality, affection, playfulness, appreciation, all of that. When we're together constantly, you got to sort of figure out, there's the level of community collapse where we're social distancing. I shouldn't say collapse. That's we're craving this stuff where we usually get, we may recognize we usually get 10 extra hugs a day outside of the house. Maybe that's high, still contact, a shoulder pat, eye contact, all of those pieces. So we have to remember, touch is so important and we're craving this and it is important. So don't forget to bear hug your partner. Don't forget to be affectionate. Don't forget to give them a foot rub or ask for a neck rub if you're really stressed. We also have had to cancel our RMP appointments, our physiotherapy appointments. Go have a bath and really luxuriate in putting on lotion afterward. Like, don't deprive yourself of touch. Sometimes when you're together all the time, you see each other together, you're taking each other for granted. Like, show appreciation, still be connected in that way. Okay. So again, coming back to being positive, focusing on what you can do for each other, what you can do for yourself, and redirecting each other from, any fear traps that get set up. It's also important with communication to have a safe word. So especially if you've been in a hot of a relationship, you've been going through a lot of particularly stressful times prior to this. Maybe you're going through couples counseling. Maybe you're coming out of a really challenging time in your life. It's important that you recognize, okay, conflict's going to happen, irritability is going to happen, disruptions are going to happen. So have a safe word to de-escalate conflict, to be assigned to each other that someone needs to take a step back, you need to take a bit of space, however that looks, and then you need to revisit it at another time, because we don't want to. It's so easy to escalate and create all this negativity in this small space, and you just really need to be really mindful, be very present, be very grounded about keeping safe, not regretting things you say, and being emotionally kind. Essentially, this is a call for us to really cultivate deeper compassion, to really cultivate holding space for ourselves, for each other, to really allow each other to drop down into deeper conversations that you may not have had the time and space to, racing through life with all of our demands for a long time. So how do you want to use this time creatively for yourselves around what you can get from it?